Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman, aka Buddy Sotelo.
Oh, I
do you
never
still
get
use
any
that?
credit. Buddy never gets any credit, so
Oh, poor Buddy.
I'm glad he gets mentioned on the show.
Of course. Okay. At each commercial, we'll have to explain where that comes from. Excuse me. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And today is movies with sports in them. Thought that'd be kind of fun.
Okay.
Today,
Right.
today we don't have a guest, but we've got all kinds of different topics: tennis and horse racing, a little bit of football, got a little baseball here. Holy smokes, we're covering the whole gambit, aren't we?
It's that time of year when no one sport is super dominant. I mean, baseball's gotten done with the All-Star game, and since then, it's kind of everything is sort of gearing up for the fall, which is what to me is the most exciting sports time of the year.
Well, it's because you do the fantasies football.
Well, it's football comes back, baseball gets into the playoffs, basketball comes in October, and it all kind of comes to a head in late October. Yep. So we're in that gear up phase right now.
That's right. Right now we just have to at least enjoy the summer, though, don't we?
I guess you got to watch something during the sports is just an never ending cornucopia. So there's always something to talk about.
Always something going on.
Heart of the All-Star break.
That's true.
Even in the heart of the All-Star break.
All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money.
I'm looking forward to.
Well, and let me go ahead and do my outro, and we'll pick it up in the next segment. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments yielding over 7%, secured by real estate. Pretty conservative. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with Russell Jackman. Holy smokes, what's going on over there? All right, Russell, where do you want to start off?
A little bit of the summer allergies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
I think what I'd like to start off with, what I'd like to start off with is the closing of Golden Gate Fields here in the Bay Area, which was opened in 1941 and was built in 1930. I think they started building it in 1938. So it's been a fixture in the Bay Area my entire life, my father's entire life or whatever, pretty much. It's a staple for the BayArea. It's first of all, it's the last Northern Californian racetrack. So there will be no more racetracks left in Northern California, especially because Bay Meadows closed up, in the early 2000s.
Well, it's got to be land is just too darn expensive here.
That is one. There's two major things about Golden Gate Fields that I'm glad about it closing, and one is definitely the fact that it's prime real estate.
Yeah,
you can't get much more prime real estate than where Golden Gate Fields is located. It's right on the 80. That's right before Berkeley, and it's whatever gets built in its place is gonna have one of the best views of the Bay Area. And
it's a lot of land. How much land is there?
It's big. It's probably about 2 miles worth of property.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The buildings and all the other things that go with it, and the paddocks and the barns and all that other stuff.
Well, they're gonna have to figure out if it's going to be, let's say, housing. Probably they're gonna have to figure out for traffic and all that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to fit housing on there because of the traffic, like you're talking about. Because that if you put housing right next to the freeway like that, it is gonna. And the for those of you that aren't in the Bay Area, that stretch of the 80 between Berkeley and San Francisco is the most trafficked part, of the world. It's really like number 2 or 3 in the world as far as like how it already has traffic. But the racetrack, only gets use when there are races, and that's
Yeah.
that's not really that much of a time. So
No.
it's really dormant and doesn't do anything for the Bay
So,
Area for the vast majority of the time that it exists. So something that's around, that's doing something all the time is
yeah.
going to be more productive than a racetrack. But the other thing about the racetrack that I'm actually very happy about. Now, first of all, I haven't really stood on my soapbox about this in the crew in the
Yeah.
on
On
the
the show.
show, but
Yeah.
I hate animal sports. I
Yeah.
hate animal-based
Yeah.
sports. I don't care whether it's dog racing. I don't care. Okay, I can handle the pig races at the fair, but that, but but for I'm not a big gambling person anyway. But Golden Gate Fields has a terrible reputation for killing horses.
I
I don't
know
know if
that.
people,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if people know, but we're only in July, and there have been 8 horse deaths this year. Last year there were
Wow.
22 horse deaths, and the year before that 26 horse deaths. Now, if
And
we
what is it? Do they know, like, is it drugs that they pump into them? Is it, I mean, like specifically, why are these horses dying?
Yeah, part of it is because of the drugs they put the horses on. Part of it is also due to track conditions. The track is so old, horses trip, they fall, and then they get hurt, and then they have to be put down. But can you imagine any other sport where 26 of the competitors in a year die, and
Yeah.
and nothing is done about it, and it
Yeah.
just gets swept under the rug? I mean, I,
Yeah.
I'm a huge wrestling fan, and we do have our share of wrestling
Sure.
deaths. Usually
Or
people who are
boxing.
older. Yeah, or people who are older. Yeah, if 26 boxers died per year,
Yeah.
uh, do you think there'd be, or football players? I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had we had Hamlin, get,
Yeah.
nearly knocked out during a game, and the whole world stopped
Yeah.
for a few days, and there's still people who said that Hamlin died during that whole thing, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists. But that was just one player. If you
Yeah.
thought 26 players or 26 athletes in any sport died, you would make some major changes. So I'm kind of glad they're going to make some major changes.
And just for just a quick second to take the emotion out of it, there's also, from a financial standpoint, these horses are expensive horses too. And again,
Yeah.
I'm just pushing. It's not that I'm definitely very attuned to the emotional side of, it's just cruel to let these horses die, but also it's not like they're disposable animals like a gopher or something, right? I mean, I don't know how much some of these horses cost, but even for these owners, how do they like the fact that some of these animals are dying? Well, they probably have insurance on them, but still.
Well, they've always that's one thing, is that horses don't last that long, and they always want to stud them out. So they really look at the horses as a disposable thing, even with the
Yeah.
expense. There's always some other, one horse dying means.
Yeah, but I mean, you if the horse dies, you can't stud him out anymore. So then what do you think will go if it's not going to be housing? What else would you put there? A nuclear power plant? And I think, Russell, we lost you there for a minute. You might have to go out and come back in. So I'm going to just go ahead and continue to talk because we've got about 2 minutes before our break here. So the other topics that we're going to want to cover when we come back is a big upset in Wimbledon. Le'Veon Bell apologizes to fans for the 2018 holdout. Of course, that was after he signed a huge contract with the Jets. And Russell just went out, and he's going to be coming back in again.
Sorry, Gary.
Oh, that's okay. You got a lot of loss there. So the question was, what would go there in Golden Gate Fields if it's not going to be housing? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the irony too, is that it's happening during a time where businesses are leaving the Bay Area. So having a big, if this happened in the early 2000s, there'd be clamor and people would be falling all over themselves for the property. But right now, big businesses are picking up and leaving, and the whole work from home thing, is still a big deal here in the Bay Area. And a
Well,
lot
yeah,
of
let me say one thing, that there was a property in San Francisco, a fairly good sized high rise where they were asking $275 million, which was really not a huge amount for this size building. And it ended up going for like 55 or 60 million. It's like it went for 25 cents on the dollar.
Yeah,
At $200 a foot.
it's weird to think that something that nice and in such a nice area is not in demand, but
Yeah.
but I don't think that one big business cannot buy it. I think it's going to have to be subdivided, and maybe it's going to be
Yeah.
mixed use. I mean, it's a little ironic that the A's are leaving, because that would have been a perfect spot, even though it's not necessarily Oakland. But if you put an arena
Yeah.
there, that way you'd have one of the nicer spots in the Bay Area to put an arena.
That's not a bad idea. Maybe they'll do something like that. You never know.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Of course, if they did,
anyway,
why wouldn't they just raise the other building? Hey, tell you what, let's go to our quick break here. All right, we're talking sports movies, or movies that have sports in them. What sport was played in the original movie Top Gun? All right, that's our trivia question. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they may have played it in the Maverick one that came out later, but for sure it was in the original Top Gun. All right. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101 with Edward Brown and Russell Jackman. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Let's see, where are we going to move off to? Oh, yeah, we got to do our trivia question. What sport was played in the movie Top Gun?
Probably one of the most unintentional homoerotic moments in modern cinema, and that is the volleyball scene.
That's right. Yeah,
yes. I mean, you look back, okay, they were maybe trying to be innocent back then, and there was nothing about it, but you really look at it, and not that there's anything wrong with it being homoerotic, by the way. I'm not trying to make aspersions to that. I mean, what two men want to do, or six men want to do in the privacy of their own home is no problem there. But on the big screen, you look at it again and you just go, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, what they're saying and what they're doing, if you take it in the wrong context, could certainly be seen like that. But not that that's one of my favorite movies. I was living in San Diego at the time when Top Gun came out, and I was over by Miramar Naval Air Force Base, in San Diego, and people were just taking that thing and just going crazy with it. Everybody wanted to go to to the flight academy, and it was becoming so popular.
Oh my gosh!
Please, yeah.
Well, did you end up seeing the remake with Maverick?
No interest. I'm not a Tom Cruise fan. I really, really hate Scientology, and that's something that I could spend an entire show on if you wanted me to talk about how much I dislike and distrust Scientology. But
I'm 100% in agreement with you. And there was a thing with Leah Remini coming out of it, and so that was I like her. She's pretty good. But anyway, if you do get a chance to at least just try to keep the Scientology part out. The movie actually I thought was pretty good. And certain comments I heard about it were one of the reasons that it did so well is the fact that it didn't try to placate to anybody. They didn't like do anything woke or it was just a good American movie, and people just like that kind of stuff.
Fair enough.
Okay, so now moving on here.
Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
that's if we want to talk money. If money is what this show is about, there's never been, in my mind, there's never been a more talked about free agent than Shohei Ohtani right now.
Yeah, I think I would totally agree with you. Totally.
I mean, the back and forth thing, the people saying, where is he going to go? Where is he going to end up? It's a weird juxtaposition, because teams are in this scenario where he's a rental for 6 months. So teams that really want to make it, make a run at the World Series, he's obviously the most obvious contender to help a team into a World Series. But there's that lingering shadow that what if he decides not to resign? And the Angels are in that position too. They want to get something for him, but are they going to ask too much and spoil the prize by
Yeah,
asking for too much, and then other teams saying, you know what, we'll just wait for the end of the season instead of giving up all these prospects.
yeah,
We'll just sign him as a free agent, because then there's no guarantee you get him as a free agent either. Or he
true.
could stay in with the Angels. He could go to any other team he wants. So what's your thought as to where Ohtani's going to wind up?
Well, it's funny. I hear about like the Dodgers, and it's like, that wouldn't be so bad. It's, people say, "Oh, the
That
rival."
would be so bad. Yeah, it would be awful.
For the Giants, it would be, yeah. But I mean,
It
just
would
the
be
idea
awful for the competitive balance. For him to go to the Yankees or for him to go to the Dodgers just sends the message to the league that, like, forget it. You don't have any chance unless you're a big city with all sort of, that you can throw $600 million at a player, that you're never going to be able to get one of the top players unless, even if you develop them, they're going to wind up going to New York or LA.
Wait a minute, the Miami Marlins won't get him?
Well, there's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. There's
Well,
talk about the Tampa.
yeah, but they've been very, very good, at least for the first half of the year. So,
Yeah, but you add Ohtani onto their, roster, and they would be nearly unstoppable. I think they would be hands down favorite to win the World Series. So, and Tampa Bay is not a major city.
That's a really small city for.
But where does Ohtani want to go to? That's another thing that's been so difficult, is Ohtani, not just because the language thing, but he's not a talker. So nobody knows. Ohtani hasn't given any tip of the hat to say where he even wants to go. He's not even like said, I've got to go to a big city. I've got to go west. I've got to go east. I'd love to be in New York and play in front of the fans. I'd love to, connect up with the Northwest and be in Seattle, or to be in San Francisco, or, in a pitcher's park. There's all these little factors that, and especially without the designated, now that the designated hitter is in both leagues, because I think that was one thing they were saying is when Ohtani was first being looked at by the Giants before he went to the Angels, he didn't want to come here because he wanted the designated hitter spot to be his. So now, or to have a designated hitter in position so that he wouldn't have to hit all the time. So that now puts San Francisco into contention. I can only say that if the Giants were to get Ohtani, it could really catapult them to the top of the NL West, which is really, even without Ohtani and even with all the injuries the Giants have had, the Giants are like 1.5 games back, I think, as we speak, from being in first place. And nobody, even me as a huge Giants fan, would have said at the beginning of the season that after the All-Star break, we'd be within 2 or 3 games of first place.
Well, and also, can you imagine, what it does for the pitching staff?
Yeah, well, we really swung and missed on guys like Stripling and I forgot the other guy that we picked up.
Webb?
No, Webb we already had. It starts with there. Not Molina.
Shows you how dedicated we are on that.
Well, yeah, I just keep forgetting his name, but he the Giants picked him up as Medina. I'm blanking on the name, but Giants picked him up, and he hasn't really, during the off season. Giants didn't make great off season moves free agent wise, but they've brought guys up from the farm system that have made this team a real contender, especially in the positions like a catcher with Bailey and at second base, and Lamont Wade has come from a real subpar couple of seasons for the last 2 years to really be one of the best leadoff hitters since Angel Pagan for the
Oh yeah.
Giants.
I
Yeah, a lot
love
of
that
people.
when they get guys up from the farm system and they do really well, rather
Yeah.
than just trading for them. That's just great.
Well, it saves a lot of money, and it creates but then do you trade those guys?
Yeah.
5, 6 of them maybe for Ohtani, and then you don't get any guarantee that Ohtani stays. And I think that's where everyone is paralyzed right now, and
Yeah.
keeping them from making the huge trade. Or will the Angels just re-sign him? Say that they can't get enough in their opinion and re-sign him, or do they re-sign him because they screw the pooch, and they let him go into free agency and don't get anything for him, and then he leaves, and
Yeah.
a team that has Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and Ohtani winds up with literally nothing to show after all that.
And the thing is also, it's like it's not like they owe it to the fans, but can you imagine being an Angels fan and thinking, oh no, we're going to lose our best player? Well, I mean,
Good.
Mike Trout too, but I mean, just
Good. They deserve that for 2002.
Oh, I know.
Never forgive.
Don't bring that up, man. You just depressed me.
Yes, well, that's why I'm kind of hoping they lose Ohtani and go into they haven't done anything since 2002, by the way.
Yeah,
The Giants won
kind of a one and done.
Yeah, 3 World Series and wins, and the Angels still are perennial losers and doing nothing with their team. So, all right. So
you said three. Wait, I'm sorry. You said 3 World Series win. Oh, you mean us?
Yeah. But since 2002,
yeah.
the Angels haven't done anything, and the Giants have managed to win 3 World Series since then. So we have the last laugh on the Angels, but I still am bitter about 2002.
I know. And yeah, there's certain things I get a little bit. I'm still bitter about 1962 World Series. Okay. We're going to go to our next trivia question here. We're talking about movies with sports in them, which, by the way, about the 62 World Series, right? Of course.
It was in a movie?
No. Willie McCovey, hits he could have won the World Series, but Bobby Richardson, I believe it was, jumped up just a little too high. Another 6 inches, the Giants would have won the World Series, but Bobby Richardson for the Yankees jumps up and snags that ball from Willie McCovey. Okay. All right. So what fictional team did Roy Hobbs play for in The Natural? Remember that was Robert Redford playing Roy Hobbs in the movie The Natural. What was the fictional name of the team that he played for? That's our trivia question. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Russell Jackman. Second trivia question. What fictional team did Roy Hobbs play for in The Natural?
What's terrible is that I saw the whole movie just like 2 years ago or 3 years ago over at my cousin's house. He put it on. We watched the whole thing, and now I am absolutely blanking on the team. I'm going to say
it's a fictional name.
I know. Was it the Broncos?
No, I think wasn't that from oh gosh, was that Bull Durham?
Bull Durham. I think I'm getting it.
I'm not sure. No, it was the Knights.
The Knights.
Hey, yes.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Predicting the success of the Vegas team. Well, before it.
Exactly. That's right. Okay, so staying with baseball. So the Seattle Mariners fans are upset because the Mariners store that is at the stadium where they sell all the merchandise stocked up with Blue Jays uniforms for the upcoming series. So, it's kind of I don't think, I guess it would only be really a problem, let's say, if the Giants did that and had Dodgers uniforms to sell. But, what's the big deal really of highlighting some opposing team, because you get Guerrero and certain superstars who, people want to have their uniforms, especially, for a visiting team, let's say. You don't have a problem with that, do you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, like, do people still really need to go to the stadium to buy souvenirs? I mean, you can just go get
No,
them online. So
exactly.
that's something. In fact, on a completely different note, but I'll throw it in there since we you brought it up, is that I went to the Dead and Co. show
Oh
um,
yeah.
in San Francisco this weekend,
Uh-huh.
and rather than stand on, there were people still standing in line to buy shirts like the entire show. Like, people missed
Oh,
probably like half the show because they were standing in line waiting to get a shirt. And I was like, and even at the end when the show was ending, there were still people standing in line waiting for shirts. And I was like, you know, I would just rather go online and get a darn shirt and see the show than
yeah.
stand in line
And
and
that's the
wait in
whole
line.
reason why you're doing that. In fact, yeah, we ended up. It's funny. I'm personally not a deadhead, but we ended up seeing when we went to New Orleans for Jazz Fest, and Bob Ware and
Phil Lesh.
no, Phil wasn't there. Rob. Um, who's the young guy who was playing Bob Mayer, John
Oh
Mayer,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
John Mayer, yeah, joined him, and I mean, it was kind of enjoyable, but when it came out a year ago, holy smokes, I had to go all the way to New Orleans to see that.
Ah,
Was
that
it a
is
good?
pretty funny.
Was it a
I
good
know
show?
this will shock you. That was the first Dead show that I've ever been to, and the only Dead show
It doesn't
that I've
doesn't
ever.
that doesn't really shock me.
I
How many?
went to one. I went to one show in Cal Expo in 1995,
Uh-huh.
and this, it was all sold out. So I hung out in the parking lot, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'll just go see them the next time the Grateful Dead just comes to
Oh,
Cal Expo, because they come there
oops.
all the time." And of course, in the next 6 months, Jerry
Jerry
Garcia
Garcia died.
died,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of a reminder that if you really are, a fan of something, don't wait, for them to come next time. Go see them now.
Yeah.
I will say, for just a rock and roll show, and I've been to a lot of concerts, that
Yeah.
was a one of a kind concert. That was a one of a kind show.
Really?
It
Okay.
was it was amazing. It was packed full, and the fans were so into the Grateful Dead. And I know it's not a sports take, but you
Yeah.
know what? There's a lot of athletes, including Bill Walton, who are huge Grateful Dead fans. And
Bill Walton.
Sunday, that was it. That was the final song played on Sunday. Not Fade Away is the final song that the Grateful Dead will ever perform, at least with that incarnation of that band.
Wow.
And they're pretty darn legendary.
No,
That
no, they are for sure. Now,
was
Phil
nice
Lesh
to.
did Phil Lesh join him?
No, he did not.
Yeah,
It
I was gonna
was
say
it
he
was
kind of does his
Mayer
own
and
thing.
Mickey Hart and
Bob
Bob
Weir.
Weir, and those were
Yeah.
the guys did all the performing. And the other band members were great though. And my friend, even though I haven't been to a lot of Dead shows, my friend who'd been to like 27 of them said, "You got to see a really great Dead show." It's
No,
like,
good.
don't worry that it's the Dead and Co. You got to see a real Dead show, and that made me feel included, like I was part of a
Sure.
major cultural movement that, like the Beatles,
Yeah,
that
yeah. Well,
I couldn't have seen the Beatles because I was too darn young. But
yeah.
the Dead, I had no excuse not to see them, and now I can say I went and saw them for the final time.
Yeah,
So,
I remember I did go see Day on the Green in 1976, where it had
oh,
Gary Wright, the Doobie Brothers, and Fleetwood Mac. And that was
my
actually,
love is alive,
yes,
Gary Wright.
exactly. Very good.
Yes,
Yeah, and then,
I'm.
and then I did get Luther Burbank in Santa Rosa. I got to see the Moody Blues, which big Moody Blues fan. And it
Yes,
was kind of neat. I mean, again, the older, they still had a few original guys, but they had to, include some new guys in there, and it was still awesome. Just all these
nice,
great songs. Loved it.
nice.
Okay, so back to sports here. Hazing at Northwestern got head coach Pat Fitzgerald fired, and it's like, just like the Sandusky and the Paterno situation, when will these guys learn? And then isn't there something going on in Tennessee also?
Yeah, it's that power thing. It's that
Yeah.
there's still that mindset that to show how tough you are and to show how much power you have over people, that you've got to abuse them.
You know what though? Why don't they go back to like eating goldfish or putting peanut butter under your arms and making you run on a hot day? I mean,
that would
something,
still probably get you in trouble. Eating
probably, yeah.
goldfish, you'll get notes from PETA,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
peanut butter, you'll get notes from Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of people might be allergic to peanuts, but but they get, I don't know. It's like I like the idea of one for all and all for one, not this hazing crap. In fact, I it just reminded me of a quick little story here. So as an adult, I played in an adult softball league. It was guys only. It wasn't intramural or anything. And I remember a situation where I was playing second base, and I did the typical bonehead thing of trying to do a double play. I tagged with the glove, and then I threw the ball to first. You know what I mean? And so, it doesn't count, right? You have to have the ball in the glove when you tag the runner going from first to second. And so I remember, the question came up like, wait a minute, did you tag him? Blah, blah, blah. And I was honest. And I just said, you know what? I screwed up. I didn't do it. And my center fielder comes running in. No, you tagged him. And I go, wait a minute. I know what I did. And he starts yelling at me, and I go, listen, I love softball. I'm very competitive, but I'm not going to cheat. And then we get into the dugout, and I tell him, I said, hey, Bob, I said, you know what? We're on the same team. We really should be supporting one another. And he totally did a turnaround. He goes, you know what? He goes, I apologize. He goes, you're right. We are a team, and we shouldn't be, going against each other on that. And so it ended up turning out pretty good, but it's sort of this, like this hazing thing. It's like, you know what? That doesn't build people up.
No, it doesn't.
You should encourage one another, not, get punishment for doing something stupid.
And this goes into wrestling too, in the sense that there's two kind of ways that you run a team, and that even in wrestling it's not necessarily a team, but everybody in the locker room is together. And then there's that concept that you all pull together and you're all together. And then there's that military style thing where people want to feel like the only way you can win is by being tougher than your other opponent. And the only way to be tough is by trial by fire all the time and just constantly berating you, and you're not ever going to get tough unless people are yelling at each other and at each other's throat. And you can see that doesn't, not only does it ruin a lot of chemistry, but it really ruins people's enjoyment of the game. And a lot of people just say, I'm done. They just leave and don't come back because they just feel like this is a bully pulpit. And you just have people in there just to stroke their egos by making other people feel bad.
Gotcha.
And that to me, that's where sports loses its allure. When people are like that, and teams are like that, and I'll turn it around, and one of the topics I wanted to bring up today was the 4.5 hour Wimbledon final. And that's where you have just two guys, no teams, no timeouts, nobody is able, you're not able to tag a tag team partner and have him come in. You can't just sub out. It's just one guy against another guy for 4.5 hours. And
can you imagine what the audience had to go, the people in the fans had to go through? Holy smokes.
Yeah, but they're at least sitting there just watching it. To have two athletes with nobody else giving them a break perform for 4.5 hours. And I don't even care if it's golf. I don't care if it's ping pong. I mean, that's a lot of energy and effort to keep a game going for 4.5 hours. This is the fourth longest Wimbledon in history, and that goes back well over 100 years.
Yeah. Well, that's why the 20-year-old won.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with it. Or that Djokovic got a letter saying, we're only allowed to have one itch as champion, and since Jokic won in Denver, you are not allowed to be champion this year.
Yeah, you're right. He did get the memo, but he had to make it at least look good, right?
Exactly. Play as long as you want, just don't win.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, by the way, do you think John Morant do you think he's going to mature now that all these hard suspensions are coming down?
That's a good question. He hasn't shown it so far, so I'd say no. Maybe he's just a gangster for life and just someone that can't get. You know who John Morant really reminds me of, and I'm gonna really knock you back a
Kevin
number
Mitchell.
of years. No, Michael Ray Richardson.
I don't remember that name.
You don't. That's why. Go look him up. Michael Ray Richardson. He was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. Yet, because of his demons and because of his drug use and because of the things that were going on outside the game, he never materialized into a great player.
And that's the thing is, you know what? Bad company corrupts good people. It doesn't happen the other way around.
Michael Ray Richardson had phenomenal statistics. He was a great ball handler. He was a great scorer. He was a pretty decent defender. But
who were his friends, though?
It was obviously people that shouldn't have been his friends.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Those you got to keep those bad people away. Hey, tell you what, let's go to our third trivia question here, and then we'll have some closing thoughts when we come back. All right. What actor played the coach in the original Mighty Ducks film? What actor played the coach of the original Mighty Ducks film? All right. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Our third trivia question. What actor played the coach in the original Mighty Ducks film?
I want to make sure I'm not getting confused with the coach from Miracle, but wasn't it Emilio Estevez?
It was Emilio Estevez. Very good.
There we go. And I have a trivia question back for you.
Yes.
Why are strikes known as Ks?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that.
The guy who because the guy who was doing the original scoring system, I think a guy named Cunningham, had already used S for sacrifice.
Oh, sacrifice. Okay. So you were trying to use one letter to get to.
Yeah, he just wanted to use one letter. And he was
very good. That's a good one.
Yeah, so K wound up being his. It's one of those things you don't know these things until your son asks you, like, why do you use K for strikes?
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I don't have an answer to that. So hop on Google and let Google tell you the answer.
And by the way, who is Emilio Estevez's father and brother?
Let's see.
He chose Emilio Estevez to completely be different from his dad and his brother.
I don't remember.
Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen.
Oh, Charlie Sheen. Okay. I was going to say Charlie Sheen was his dad.
No. Martin Sheen was the dad. Charlie
has aged quite a bit, though. So that's why I think he might have.
It's that easy life, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You ready for our
hang out with Lindsay Lohan will ain't anybody.
Yeah. Hang out with her. All right, you ready for our thoughts for the day? Here you go. Okay, what do you call a nun who sleepwalks?
Let's see. The walking nun? No.
No. A Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic. Okay.
And respect your parents. They passed school without Google. Right?
Yes, but they had the card catalog.
True.
And
then what about AI? Okay, here we go. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
All right, my friend.
Well, that was fast. Again, it's always amazing how I, when it's just you and me,